Now, there is nothing evil in the nature of Augustus too. In spiritualistic circles, however, he will most certainly be interpreted as an evil spirit or guide. His nature is protective. The basic ideas and beliefs that have been personified into his being, that became his being, were formed to protect Augustus I from the destructive ideas given to him in his childhood to combat the beliefs in powerlessness and futility. To that degree, they were added onto the original ideas but still at an early age, so it was from the child's concept of a powerful being that Augustus II sprang. The greater the feelings of weakness, then, the greater the compensating feelings of power and strength. But, again, with no attempt at conscious reconciliation. Augustus's mother noted only that her son seemed highly changeable. Augustus II did not present himself as obviously another personality until after Augustus's marriage, when the demands of fatherhood and making a living were placed upon him. He could not cope. His beliefs and his unworthiness prevented him from using his abilities or even pursuing a course of effective action with any persistence. It was then that Augustus II began to assert himself, and to Augustus's wife. In his own way, Augustus II would prove to her that she was married to quite an unusual, powerful man, a paragon of virility and strength. But to do so, Augustus I must appear as Augustus II to her. This continued for some time. Augustus I would first develop a splitting headache, and then this alien from outer space would arrive, the commanding male that Augustus I was not. Here, however, the deception brought about certain difficulties. Not only was Augustus II more sexually promiscuous, but, by contrast, Augustus I seemed very pallid indeed. Augustus II was originally intended to help Augustus I. It is true that the exotic conditions spilled over, casting some glamour on Augustus I when Augustus II left for a time, but the contrast was too blatant, too out in the open. Augustus I, still the primary personality, became even more frightened. He knew that gradually Augustus II was outliving his purpose, showing him up, and had to go. In fact, once Augustus II obviously took over the body of Augustus I, it was all out in the open in the family. The wife began to take notes of what was done and said. When these events were repeated to Augustus I later, the lying and cheating was evident. So was the infantile nature of the personality, yet Augustus II purported to be all-wise, from a galaxy far surpassing Earth in every category of endeavor. And here, he was making predictions that never happened, and boasting and lying like a trooper. The beliefs whose energy generated this alternate self-image then appeared in the daylight, acting out their natural results in physical reality. Augustus I, now in manhood, was forced to perceive the nature of these beliefs to some extent, yet, when he was visiting Rupert, he still would not examine them. Augustus II is not taken over now for 2.5 months. Augustus is in a dilemma, for he still holds intact the beliefs of his own powerlessness, and the contradictory beliefs of omnipotence are now not being expressed through Augustus II. Yet, expressed they will be. And so in the interview, Augustus I, who we will now simply call Augustus, at one moment came through with his gigantic belligerence, staring at Rupert and telling him that he could annihilate anyone who hurt him. In the next moment, the great plea for help would surface, the love of his wife and child. In one sentence, Augustus would make a statement, and 10 minutes later would make it clear with another remark that the first fact had not been true. Here, the polarity between Augustus I and II had dissolved, so that the two opposing systems of belief operated alongside each other. Still, Augustus would not examine his own words, his own thoughts, or see the contradictions so obvious to others. The nature and importance of belief appeared so eloquently that Rupert was astounded and found himself forced into some complicated psychological footwork. The two personalities were no longer separate, but merging. Augustus said, "My friend killed a neighbor of mine who was against me by giving him pneumonia. He looks out for me. Another neighbor has ulcers, and Augustus told Rupert that after he touched this neighbor, the ulcers seemed to have been healed. So he said, I would like to know how much of this great ability belongs to me." And looking briefly away, "Perhaps I do not need my friend to protect me after all." Now this was definitely to the good, in that Augustus was beginning to feel that perhaps he was not powerless. His own personality, however, is left to handle the definitely unsavory characteristics of an Augustus too, who is no longer personified. He is left with the questions, if I am so powerful, how is it that I am so weak and cannot support my family? If I am so great, why can I not effectively use my energy? For the body of Augustus is once again under the sway of beliefs about himself that are highly contradictory. Before, he was physically powerful when he was Augustus II, and weak when he was Augustus I. Now, as Augustus, he is alternately strong and weak, and the body stresses are apparent. As Augustus II, he could stay up night and day and perform physical tasks quite difficult for the normal human being to do, for he operated under the indivisible idea of power and strength. It has taken some courage for him to let Augustus II vanish, because the neat division of beliefs no longer exists. However, he will seem even more difficult to his wife, since the characteristics of Augustus II now bleed into his own. He will lie, for example, where before only Augustus II lied. Here then is a case where directly opposing beliefs dominated the conscious mind at various times, each operating the body in its own manner. Physically, the body has the same capacity for strength regardless of which group of ideas were dominant, but, practically speaking, Augustus I was incapable of performing the feats of Augustus II. Augustus II once leaped from a second-story window to the ground in anger, and without injury, a highly unusual feat. Augustus, however, is so exhausted he can barely get through a normal day. You had a situation in which an individual, through beliefs, put his power and energy literally beside himself. He could use it only when he switched beliefs completely. It was only because the childlike characteristics of Augustus II finally appeared so blatantly that Augustus II had to be dispensed with. Augustus's wife made the difference, for it was obvious that she did not have the same opinion of this friend that her husband had. Her beliefs then became the new foundation, the one point of change that allowed Augustus to view this alternate self-image with any kind of detachment at all. This marks the end of Seth Speaks, The Nature of Personal Reality. This is Chapter 6 in our Part 4. Let's discuss. So, Seth, in this narrative, explores the concept of the subconscious mind manifesting alternate personas to protect the individual from perceived weakness. Augustus II, an alternate persona, emerges to compensate for Augustus I's feelings of powerlessness. However, this leads to conflicts. This leads to challenges as Augustus grapples with the dichotomy of his beliefs. Ultimately, the integration of these conflicting beliefs becomes necessary for Augustus's well-being and self-understanding. If you've enjoyed this reading, please consider giving it a like, sharing with a friend, and of course, subscribing for more. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these videos, any of the shorts that I've been putting up, any of the quizzes, any of the meditations, and whatever else I might come up with. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I am Tony Victory, a wolf uncaged. Until the next time, thank you.